Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Zients. I want to go back to an issue that has been discussed here and in many places regularly, and it's this notion that it's not time yet to start controlling the spending side of the equation. We still need to keep stimulating the economy. We still need to keep the government spending going so that we can generate jobs. And the two-step approach that the Chairman mentioned and that you have confirmed is the approach taken by this budget. I have a concern about that. As you know, I'm sure I served on the President's Commission, on the Bowles-Simpson Commission, and that commission report adopted that same two-step approach. This was in December of 2010. And we agreed in that commission report that we would delay the caps on spending and the spending restraints for a year or two to allow for this stimulative impact on the economy that was claimed to be needed. The concern I have that it's now time to prepare the 2012 budget. And we still hear that it's not time yet for us to begin the austerity part of controlling spending at the federal level, but we still have to engage in the spending side. We're not there. My question rhetorically, I won't ask you to answer this, but my question rhetorically is, when will we ever get to step two? And the question I do want to ask you is about this budget. I've seen a lot of budgets in Congress, and I've analyzed a lot of congressional budgets. And one of the biggest problems that I think we have, that we overlook every year, is that you have a budget, in this case a 10-year budget, that makes all kinds of proposals over a 10-year period of time. But it's only the first year of the budget that really counts. It's only the first year of the budget that Congress will operate from in this year. And it seems that in the first year of almost every budget I've seen Congress establish, there's just more taxing and more spending, but the control of spending doesn't happen. And I note that that's happening again in this budget, and this is the question I want to refer to you. Two years ago, the President's budget claimed billions in savings by freezing non-security discretionary spending in fiscal year 2013 at $446 billion. 1 year ago, the President in his budget proposal claimed even additional savings in that same non-security discretionary spending category for the fiscal year 2013, saying that in fiscal year 2013, we should get to an even lower level of $397 billion. Now we're looking at fiscal year 2013. It's arrived. And the President proposes not the 446 that he said in his budget 2 years ago, not the 397 that he said in his budget 1 year ago, but 501, if I read the numbers correctly. And so the same dynamic that I'm describing has occurred again in this circumstance. In previous budgets, we say, well, in the future, we'll fix things. And here's how we'll fix them. And then we get to the future budgets, and lo and behold, the fix is gone, and the spending is back in place. Could you respond to that?
Yeah, no, I think that on the discretionary side, we are abiding by the BCA caps, which, as you know, control discretionary spending. If you look at DOD as an example, they've put together a budget that follows a new strategy. And the budget, as a result of that strategy, actually results in a 1% decrease in DOD spending, not counting OCO. With OCO, it's down 5%. If you look across agencies beyond DOD, half of our agencies have flat or negative spending in 13 versus 12. So this is a budget that I would argue has a lot of spending control. And at the end of the day, the bottom line, as I mentioned earlier, is that we're down to, in 2013, to 5.5% of GDP, and then in 2014, 3.9% of GDP.
But you've
significant progress, not where we need to go. We need to get those deficits lower. We need to have debt stable as a percent of GDP, but we're on the right path in this budget.
But you've adjusted the baseline, which is what allows you to make the claims that you're making in a number of contexts here. And let's forget about the baseline. Let's forget about the percentages and all of the arguments that have been made about how we're going to be reducing percentages of spending, is it not accurate to say that the President proposes in this budget for 2013 more spending than he proposed for this same 2013 budget last year and the same 2013 budget the year before?
I think you have to go back and benchmark those numbers. I don't have them in front of me. What I can tell you is this is a very tight budget, and certainly a budget that abides by the BCA caps, which has us making a lot of trade-offs. I think the most powerful data
Except
point
the
here.
Sequestration is eliminated in the President's
Sequestration, I want to be very clear on the sequestration. It is not eliminated. The President believes that it's a very important forcing function. In the fall, Congress was not able to come up with a proposal.
I thought you said it was, okay, I think your word was replaced.
Well, it is the $1.2 trillion that the sequestration would create through what we think is bad policy. In the DOD area, a $500 billion across-the-board cut on top of the efficiencies we've already realized is bad policy on the discretionary side.
So it will be replaced.
Bad policy. It will be replaced with balanced deficit reduction. We will have that $1.2 trillion. It's mutually assured destruction. We've got to get it. No one wants the sequester to kick in.
But you're
and it'll be
replacing
replaced
it with a $1.2 trillion tax increase, are you not?
A combination of tax and spending cuts. Overall, $2.50 of spending cuts for every dollar increase in revenue.
Well, I can tell you I do have the numbers, and 2 years ago it was 446. 1 year ago it was 397. This year it's 501. The same thing is happening. The budget proposals go up in the year that we really are doing the budgeting.
Let me just say that I've served with Senator Crapo on the Fiscal Commission, served with him in the Group of Six. I've spent hundreds of hours with him. He's a serious person. And in the Group of Six, we devised a enforcement mechanism that's never been used before, in part to get at the issue, the underlying issue that he raises, which I think those of us who have served on the Budget Committee for many years, whatever the merits of the current budget or the demerits of it, the underlying dynamic that he is stressing here, he is stressed in many, many hours, I can tell you, in the Fiscal Commission and the Group of Six. And he is right that enforcement mechanisms have almost always had loopholes in them. And I'll tell you, Congress is genius at getting through loopholes.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate you saying that. I actually wrote the Gang of Six enforcement mechanism on my pad here because I would love to see the President endorse at least that much of some of the work we've done here.